We still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe. And it feels alright where the worlds collide. Manipulation stands to make us break. What's that you said coming over you? You wish it upon a star. You wish it on a star. You are, you are, you are. You fight back, it's an all-out attack. It feels like I've been taken on the world's machine. Because I want it more than anyone can dream. You look back and it's all in the past. You tell me how you live by all the things you do. Well, you can be yourself, but maybe I'm not you. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all.
Good evening, welcome along to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It is Those Were the Days with George, and it's been a while since we got together and did one of these because we're nearly at the end of the series. George,
nearly, Steve, yeah.
where are you taking us to on this episode?
2018-19, which
Okay.
was
Over to
a
you.
revival year for Rafa to see how we did in the Premiership and all the rest of it. So it's not a bad year, not a bad year. And that's basically the squad that we had then. And anybody that has a memory at all, we only had that squad because Rafa fought like hell to get what players he could, because Ashley wouldn't spend any money, of course. In fact, I was looking at the ins and outs, and the list of outs is just incredible. You know, Gamez, good, Curtis Good, Haidara, Mikel Mourinho, who's making a name for himself at Arsenal now. Chancel member, Matt Sells, the goalkeeper. I mean, he was seemed to be a duck egg for us, and he's playing like a hero for Nottingham Forest at the minute. And then three centre forwards: Mitrovic, Armstrong, Tony, all went. Rafa got rid of them all, and coming in another centre forward who I liked, when Rafa was determined to have, that was Solomon Rondon, and Kennedy, the Brazilian from Chelsea, who had a fantastic first season and then was absolutely duff after that. And of course, the other name that pops up is a current name, and that's Jacob Murphy, because as part of the Rondon deal, him coming from West Brom, Jacob Murphy went the other way on loan to West Brom and was there for, I think, 2 seasons and came back. So, we're starting to get into the names that we recognise now. You know, it's not just old stuff. So, but it's interesting. Now that's the team that started against Spurs, and I put that in because I'd struggled to get the program for that game. Going back to what I usually do, if you're interested in the cinema, the big box offices were Roma, Black Panther. Black Panther done over $1 million business as a picture. I didn't see it. The one I did see was First Reformed, which was a Harrison Ford. Now I like Harrison Ford, but I didn't like that picture. That was, and then of course there was the remake of A Star Is Born as well. But I have to say, there was none of that set me on fire. I must say. In music terms, of course, we start to see the emergence of people like Ed Sheeran. You know, Young Thug, Havana, Drake, God's Plan, Ed Sheeran, Shape of You, Ed Sheeran, Perfect, Maroon 5, Tia Ray, and the Chainsmokers and Coldplay. Something just like this. I mean, some good tracks there, but as I say, if you're into your music, you'd know about that. Right, the football. As usual, we started the season with a blend of friendly matches. St Patrick's Athletic in Ireland. We always seem to have a trip to Ireland. Hull City. Then Porto. We went to Porto and we went to Sporting Braga. And then we had Augsburg came to St James's. So that real workman-like friendlies to get warmed up with some decent crowds as well. First game of the season was home against Spurs, and everybody was keen to see how it would perform against, because at that time Spurs were one of the leaders and being tipped for great things. And our first team that Rafa put out was Dubravka, Yedlin, Dummett, Lascelles, Clark, Diarmi, Shelby, Ritchie, Joselu, Perez, and Kennedy. And the Tottenham team, Loris, Oria, Sanchez, Vertonghen, Davis, Sissoko, Dyer, Mura, Eriksson, Ali, and Kane. And a decent game. I remember it quite well. Martin Atkinson was the referee. Now he's still pretty prominent in VAR, Martin Atkinson. So he's been around a while. A decent game, which went off at 100 miles an hour. Vertonghen scored for them in 8 minutes. Joselu equalised on 11. And just before 20 minutes, Dele Alli scored and made it 2-1. So it went in at half time at 2-1. And second half, good enough football, but they could have played all day. Neither team would have scored. They never got near the goal. Rondon came on as a substitute for Joselu because my memory is that when he first came, he wasn't very fit, and Rafa brought him in gradually because he to get him fit. Atsu came on for Ritchie, and Muto came on for Perez, which was the one Japanese guy that we had. Spurs had Dembele came on, Son came on for Ali, and Amos for Dyer. So it was a full on game, but 2-1 was the halftime score. And they could have played all day. They would never have got. Neither team would have scored another goal. So 2-1 it was. Start with a loss, but it wasn't a bad loss. It was we played some decent football against them, and we then went to Cardiff City. It's interesting, the names in the league at this time. You know, rack your memory, and you think, well, where are they now? God, and the slight change in our team. Look, Manaquino came in at right fullback, and but otherwise it was an unchanged team. Hayden come onto the bench. He wasn't in the first squad. And Cardiff team was Etheridge, good goalkeeper, Akul, Morrison, Bamba. Bamba, great old-fashioned centre half, big guy, has just retired after a fantastic career. Bennett, Arter, Casamas, Rails, Murphy, Soho, Hollett. Most of those names have disappeared out of football now. And it was pretty dismal game, actually. I mean, we had 52,000 at the game against Spurs. The Cardiff had 30,000 at Ninian Park for this game, and that was a big crowd for them. But it was a pretty miserable match. It was 0-0 from the way it kicked off. No actual threat on goal at all in the first half, and it didn't get any better in the second half. And got a bit spicy in the second half with Kamara and Arta and for Cardiff getting booked, and Richie and Manaquino getting booked for us. Now Hayden came on for Manaquino in the second half, and on 67 minutes, Isaac Hayden got sent off. He had a punch up in the penalty area. I think it was with Bamba, a corner, and the result was he got sent off. So we ended up with 0-0, and perhaps with 10 men we might have been lucky to get that, but at least we've got a point on the board. So the next game was home to Chelsea, and Chelsea, one of the sides that people were talking about as possibly winning things, and we played quite well, and they were playing well. It was quite a good game. Our team was back to where we started. Drubavka, Yedlin, Fernandez, Clark, Shaw. Shaw came in, Dummett, Ritchie, Diarmi, Murphy, and Rondon. And Chelsea, Adequeta in goal, Azpilicueta at fullback, Rudiger in the back of their defence, Luiz, Alonso, Carte, Jorginho, Kovacic, Pedro, Morata, and Hazard. Quite a good side, but and certainly given us plenty to think about. But first half was even Steven, end-to-end stuff, good game, but nobody going to score any goals. But second half looked like it was going to go the same way. Then on 76 minutes, a careless challenge by Paul Dummett, and they got a penalty, and Hazard put the penalty away to make it 1-0. And then just when we thought it was going to stay like that, up popped Joselu to score on 83 minutes to equalise, and I really thought, well, we're going to go home 1-1. But then from a corner, Andre Yedlin put the ball in his own net past Drubavka, and we end up losing 2-1. But not the best football match we'd seen. And again, got a bit spicy towards the end, and there was 3 of them booked and 3 of ours, Shaw, Fernandez, and Ritchie booked for us. So it was not a game to remember, to be brutally honest. Next game we're off to Nottingham Forest in the Football League Cup, third round of the Football League Cup, and history in this trophy isn't a brilliant one about this time. It's improved in recent years, but at this time we nearly hardly expected to get anything out of these games. But nonetheless, we give it a go, and there was some good play, some decent play. Rafa changed the team around. Darlos, Sterry, Shah, Fernandez, Clark, Atsu, Key, the Korean, Longstaff, Kennedy, Muto, and Joselu, which was quite a change in the team. Forest had Steele, Byram, Hefe, Fox, Robinson, Bridcut, Watson, Diaz, Carvalho, Lolly and Murphy, and it wasn't a bad game, but we weren't doing very much with it. In fact, on 2 minutes we went behind to a goal from Murphy, soft goal, and it looked like that's how it was going to stay. But then on right at the death, it looked like we'd got a replay because Rondon from a corner got a brilliant header in and made it 1-1. And everybody was getting ready to for extra time. But within seconds, they got a corner at the other end, and the player called Cash made it 2-1 to them. And as if that wasn't enough, the ref played so much extra time. 97 minutes, it says here. Diaz got a third and made it 3-1 to Forest. So there was no extra time. And we did our usual disappearing act in the Football League Cup, sadly. It's not our best. Wasn't one of our best games. In fact, it was quite a dismal game. Next, we're at home to Manchester City in the Premiership, and they're being tipped to take the league. So we're going into the Lions' Den. They're playing very well, good side, and everybody, everybody's got their fingers crossed for this one that we don't get a stuffing. But actually, we played quite well. Same team: Dubravka, Yedlin, Lascelles, Fernandez, Clark, Dummett, Kennedy, Key, Diarmi, Perez, and Rondon. And it's starts off in an absolutely dismal way for us. Ryan Sterling scores on 8 minutes. A sneaky dribble down the right like he usually does and slots it underneath the goalkeeper and knocks the stuffing out of him before we've started. However, we plug away, and then on 30 minutes, Andre Yedlin scores a screamer from the edge of the penalty area to make it 1-1, and that's how it stays till half time. The Manchester City team names that he had some of them: Ederson and goal, Walker, Stones, Laporte, Mendy, Mahrez, Fernandinho, Silva, Sterling, Aguero, and Jesus. And Jesus, as we know, now playing for Arsenal. But they were giving us the runaround, basically. There was no question who the better side was. But it was good to see how our lot dug their heels in and give it a go. And it stayed 2-1 to the end, but it wasn't. There was a worry that we might have got lost this heavily, but we didn't. The referee was a certain Kevin Friend, who be well remembered by Newcastle fans as having some atrocious games for us at St James's Park and other places. So we're not looking very happy in the league at the moment. We've got off to a pretty rough start. And the fixture list doesn't help us, of course, because next game we face Arsenal, who are another one of the form teams who come to St James's. That's a picture from Manchester City game, Dwight York, who came on as a sub. We get Arsenal at St James's next, and we really up against it. Arsenal playing superb football, playing really well, giving us a bit of a run around. But we dig in and keep them back, and right until half time 0-0, and everybody's thinking, but might get something out of this. Our team that day was Dubravka, Yedlin, Lascelles, Fernandez, Dummett, Murphy, Hayden, Diarmi, Ritchie, Joselu, and Perez, with Darlow, Maniquino, Rondo, and Shelby as substitutes. Arsenal, again, names that people still remember: Czech and goal, Bellerin, Mustafi, Socrates, Monreal, Guadiano, Xhaka, Ozil, Ramsey, Adebayor, and Lacazette. Ramsey, of course, was something of a mystery. He was a great star one day, and the next day he was like a schoolboy. He couldn't seem to keep his game consistently. Brilliant one day and absolutely rubbish the next. Anyway, they give us a hard time, and on 49 minutes, eventually we gave in, and Xhaka scored from a free kick. And just to rub it in on 58 minutes, Ozil, very clever player, German player, made it 2. Controversial player, actually, some of the things he used to say and do, both on and off the field. And it looked like we were, that would be it. But then, right at the death, from a corner, Clark, our centre back, scored a beautiful header to make it 2-1. So that's another 2-1 loss. The important thing for me is we weren't getting pasted. We were actually digging our heels in against these teams that were being tipped for honours, and actually holding our own, which was quite creditable. I mean, Rafa wouldn't accept anything less, I don't think, to be honest. Next, we're at Crystal Palace, and team that we think we should be getting something from, but like everything else with Newcastle, just when you think there's something around the corner, it doesn't pan out. Palace team: Hennessy, Wan-Bissaka, Tompkins, Salko, Van Arnholt, Kovacic, Mitrovic, MacArthur, Townsend, AU, and Zaha. MacArthur, very, very rugged midfielder who always seemed to have a good game against us, but he had a reputation for kicking everything that moved, and that was a reputation he earned very well. We sent out Dubravka, Yedlin, Fernandez, Lascelles, Dummett, Ritchie, Diarmi, Shelby, Kennedy, Perez, and Rondon, and with Darlow, Manakino, Clark, and Key on the bench. And it's a good game, but the only bad thing about it is that neither team look as though they're going to threaten the goal. They hardly get near putting anything in the onion bag, that's for sure. And I can't even remember being able to say somebody hit the post, somebody hit the bar. It wasn't that kind of game, sadly. But it was almost an entirely midfield game. They got lost in midfield and very rarely threatened the goals. But we ended up getting a point out of it. And the referee, one man called Andre Mariner, who again is still very known in the VAR and other refereeing circles. So we get our first point on the board, and we're next at home to Leicester City, and everybody thinks, well, maybe we should get something out of this because they're not pulling up trees, but they've got to run into a spell of form and giving us a hard time, and just to typical Newcastle, 52,000 at the game, nearly a full house. For Leicester City speaks volumes for the support, as always. But we start off very, very well. It's a good end-to-end stuff, and we seem to be doing well. But then on half an hour, Jamie Vardy, the centre forward, sells Yedlin a dummy. And not only does Yedlin buy the dummy, he takes Jamie Vardy down, and of course the penalty, and Vardy steps up and makes it 1-0 for half time. And we're struggling at that stage. However, second half comes, and we're in the game again and giving it as much as we can, give what we've got. And just when it looks like we might get an equaliser, they get a corner, and up comes Maguire from the back of Leicester's defence and makes it 2-0. And you can see the spirit run out of the out of the team as that ball went in the net. Again, the team give as much as they could, but we just couldn't get in the game. It was one of those games where tries we made, we just couldn't get it. And Simon Hooper, the referee this time, but again another name that we know from VAR even these days. So once Leicester City's out of the way, the fixture list doesn't do us any favours because we're off to Old Trafford, Manchester United, and we know this isn't going to be an easy game. It's going to be a tough one. Well, typical Newcastle turn it on their head, don't they? We've got the team of Dubravka, Yedlin, Lascelles, Fernando, Manaquino, Richie, Shelby, Diarmi, Kennedy, Perez, and Muto. And, well, we have a go at them and set them on their heels. 7 minutes, Kennedy, the Brazilian winger, scores a peach of a goal. 10 minutes, Muto scores a second. So we go in at half time, 2-0 up and looking like we're cruising it. Absolutely cruising it. You know, the ground at half time, you could hear the hubbub in both ends. Happy hubbub for us and a what the hell's happening hubbub with the Manchester United fans because they're 2-0 down. And then it looks like we're going to hang on. Second half starts the same. We're in it. We're not giving anything away. And then lo and behold, on 70 minutes, a very, very bad ball by Diarmi across the penalty area, and who grabs onto it but Mata, and one Mata doesn't need to be offered two chances. He whacks it into the back of the net and makes it 2-1. And of course, then the tails are up, and within a couple of minutes, they hit the post again. Another 5 minutes, and Martial cuts in from the right wing and makes it 2-2. And just when everybody's thinking, well, at least we're going to get a point out of this, on 90 minutes, Sanchez gets the ball and comes in from the left and does a 1-2 with McTominay, and bang, it's 3-2 Manchester United. Very disappointing result considering how well we played in the first half, and to have a 2-0 advantage. To surrender it at the death was very, very upsetting, to say the least. Now, I actually was at this match. I remember taking the lads on one of our away trips. That's when I say the lads, that's Neil, Jody Dentist, and Tim, and Paul, and Mike, the whole crew that used to go together. And it was a good weekend, but spoiled by the result. But once Manchester United got sniffing distance, they just run us ragged. And the name of the referee, Anthony Taylor, would you believe? Now, there's a name to conjure with. So we thought we had something out of that, and we didn't. And now we're starting to get a sweat on because we're bumping around the bottom end of the league, which is not very exciting for anybody. The next game is a home game against Brighton, and we, despite all the results, poor results, still 51,000 in St James's Park to support the team, which is phenomenal when you consider the terrible run of results we've had. So we go out against Brighton with same team almost. Dubravka, Yedlin, Lascelles, Fernandez, Dummett, Richie, Shelby, Diarmi, Kennedy, Perez, and Muto. And Brighton with Ryan, Sato, Duffy, Dunk, who still plays for Brighton, Bong, Yashamaka, Stevens, KL, March, and Murray. Murray's making a nice job on commentating on television at the moment, but good even Steven game, and looks like we're going to survive till half time at 0-0 at least. But unfortunately for us, a piece of sloppy play by Fernandez lets in Kial, the dangerous winger, and he makes it 1-0 for Brighton. And that's how it stays at half time. Second half, I can say we come out and had a go. But we couldn't score. Everything we did was great, but the only thing we couldn't do was put the ball in the back of the net. And it stayed 1-0 till the end. So another defeat. And unusually for in the Premiership or any other league, because of various circumstances, the referee was again Andre Mariner, would you believe. There was all sorts of things happening in refereeing, so he ended up having to come to St James's Park again very soon after he had just been. So we're now off to Southampton is the next one. They should be beatable. They're not, they're not being regarded as a threat to anything, but so we go with an unchanged team, and Southampton have McCarthy, Suarez, Stevens, Holt, Bertrand, Redmond, Romanu, Lemina, Elipasusi, Austin, and Ings. And Ings, of course, is still playing in the Premiership. And our team unchanged. It's a even Steven game, end-to-end stuff. The only thing that's missing is a threat on goal. Can't even say that anybody hit the woodwork, never mind put the ball in the net. But anything that did get near McCarthy and Dubravka grabbed it and took it away, so there was never any real goal threat. And 0 at the half time, and second half was the same. Some neat football, but nobody threatening the goal. And we got a point in 0-0, which at least relieved some of the pressure on us at the bottom of the league. A referee called Chris Kavanagh, again, another name that's well known in VAR circles these days. So we come home to Watford, and Watford are just below us in the league and not playing very well. That's the shot from Southampton, yeah. The thing that intrigued me about that picture was the empty seats at Southampton. And we're playing Watford teams, Dubravka, Yedlin, Lascelles, Fernandez, Dummett, Ritchie, Shelby, Diarmi, Kennedy, Muto, and Rondon, which has become a fairly static selection for Rafa. And Watford has got Foster, Firmina, Mariappa, Cathcart, Holbas, Decor, Capood, Hughes, Periata, Defoe, and Success. And a good football game. Watford haven't got much of a reputation, but certainly attempted to play some good football. And it was very even Steven in the first half. Ended, no surprise, it ended up 0-0, and we went in at 0-0. Then the second half, Newcastle just upped the pace just a little bit, and the big change was that Perez came off the bench for Muto, and that seemed to add a bit of extra into the forward line. And suddenly Rondon and Kennedy were getting more of the ball, and I think that was because Perez was feeding it better than Muto had. And so no surprise on 65 minutes when we scored, and it had to be Perez because he'd done all the work and gave us a 1-0 win, which you could nearly hear the sighs of relief around the St James's Park when that went in. The referee, Craig Pawson, again another well-known name even now. Next we have another home game against Bournemouth, and once again 50,000 crowd for Bournemouth coming, and unchanged team. Sorry, is changed. Muto's left out and Perez left in because of Perez's heroics in the previous game. Bournemouth, Begovic, Francis, Cook, Ake, Smith, Ibi, Cook, Limana, Fraser, Brooks, Wilson. Now, some of those names we've got to know quite well. The Wilson is the Wilson we've still got, and the Fraser is the Fraser that we used to have, and got rid of, thank goodness. But a good game. Bournemouth have a reputation for playing good football. But 7 minutes into the game, and Rondon scores a beautiful solo effort. He's left standing on his own at the edge of the box, and without a flinch, he drills it in the bottom corner, giving the goalkeeper no chance at all. And he repeats the dose on 40 minutes just before half time to make it 2. But then just with the last kick of the half, Limana scores for Bournemouth and makes it 2-1, which makes it interesting. Second half, we have some end-to-end stuff, but again, dismal from a point of view of goal scoring. Neither team looked as though they're going to put the ball in the back of the net. So we end up with 2-1, and a fair result. We earned the victory, and again, a sigh of relief around the ground, because we're now moving just that little bit away from the bottom 3, never mind the bottom spot. And referee Lee Probert, again, a name that we still get to know in VAR terms, in the Premier League at the moment. So the next game is away at Burnley, and Turf Moor, I always think a nice place to go. It's a proper football place, and has particular personal feelings, having spent 2 weeks there as a young schoolboy trialist at Turf Moor. It always raises the hairs on the back of my neck a little bit, and they used to always have a huge number of Geordies in their team, because that scout up here, Charlie Ferguson, used to take dozens of them down to Burnley. Anyway, we'll go to Burnley. They're not playing particularly well, so we're in with a chance. And Burnley side's they're a bad side, but they're not playing very well. Hart, Loden, Long, me, Taylor, Lennon, Defoe, Cork, Brady, Vokes, and Wood, and that's our Wood that we got to know. We took Dubravka, Yedlin, Fernandez, Shah's in, Clark, Ritchie, Diarmi, Key, Kennedy, Perez, and Rondon, and we get off to a flyer in this one. It's end-to-end stuff, 100 miles an hour, and we get an early corner, and in trying to stop Rondon, their centre back me gets a big boot on the ball, and instead of it going out, it goes flying past his goalkeeper. So we get a start 1-0, and then game's end to end, and always looks like we are going to score. And then from another corner, Kieran Clark, centre back, gets a beautiful header to make it 2-0. And then just before half time, the dangerous forward Vokes gets a nice goal to make it 2-1. So we're in for what I think is an exciting centre half, but it wasn't. It ended up with Burnley being determined not to let any more in, and we not having the guile to break them down at all. So it was not as exciting second half. It was quite a dismal second half because it was going to be 0-0 from the minute they kicked off in the second half. And again, referee Anthony Taylor. And the person that writes these commentaries that I've been using says after Taylor's name, lives very near Manchester. I don't know what that's supposed to convey. I think in modern terms, I think we know what it means, but even then, he was getting a reputation. The next game is a home game against West Ham, and now this is the one where we need to be on our mettle. West Ham are playing well, being talked about as possible European Cup team. So they're playing extremely well. We play an unchanged team, and West Ham are Fabianski, Zabaleta, Blueno, Diop, Cresswell, Snodgrass, Noble, Rice, Anderson, Androvich, Hernandez. And from the kickoff, West Ham are all over this one, really giving us a hard time. And it's no surprise on 11 minutes when Hernandez makes it 1-0. It beats Dubravka with ease, too easy in some ways. It looks like after half time, we've got hold of the game a bit. We're giving as good as we get, but we can't get a goal to equalise things. And just when it looks like we're settling down, the same Hernandez comes flying in from the left and slips the ball under Dubravka again to make it 2. And then just when we think, is there a possibility we get back into this, Anderson, the dangerous forward, makes it 3 on 90 minutes. So we were right to be worried about this game because West Ham played exceedingly well. They were, their football was just outstanding. I remember being at this game and thinking that we're a great team they had been, and we were. In the end, in my opinion, we were lucky to end up just 3-0. It could have been a lot worse. Paul Tierney's the referee, and another name that we know. So next game, we're off to Everton. Incidentally, 52,000 at the West Ham game. So the fans haven't deserted Newcastle. Although we are off the bottom of the league now. We're bumping along, bottom 3 rather than rock bottom. The next game's away to Everton. And again, the one we've got to be on our mettle because they're playing quite well and being talked about as possible cup winners. Our team's unchanged. Everton team, some of the names we still recognise: Pickford, Coleman, Zuma, Mina, Dingy, Gayan, Gomez, Richarlison, Sigurdsson, Lookman, and Tosin. And a tidy side at that time. And we go to Everton and give them a game. Really have a go at them. And it's no surprise on 19 minutes when Rondon scores a beautiful header from a corner. And just when we're settling down to thinking that we might get something out of the game, Richarlison comes in for Everton and cuts in from the left and leaves Dubravka foundering with a hell of a shot. And it's 1-1. So we go in 1-1 at half time. And we all thinking, well, maybe we can have a go at them again second half. But second half, it gets lost in midfield. Both teams concentrating on not giving up what they've got. And you end up with a dismal 0-0 second half. However, the point away from home's valuable for us, keeps us off the bottom. And just kept things going. Got a bit nasty towards the end, and it was us that suffered though, because we had Diami, Yedlin, Shah, Fernandez, and Atsu all yellow carded in the last few minutes. which was a bit disappointing. Lee Mason was the whistler, the referee. And interesting, the commentator again says, his first outing involving NUFC this season, and for the whistler who didn't have far to travel to Everton. Very brave. I mean, I think I get the hint. I love the reports that this guy makes. Tongue in cheek, I'm sure. Tongue in cheek. We're next home to Wolves, and they're not, tearing up trees. They're very ordinary, but still dangerous attacking side. There's no question about that. And we're unchanged. Wolves have Patricio in goal, Bennett, Cody, Bowley, Doherty, Saiss, Neves, Vinagre, Helder Costa, Traore, and Jota. And a good football game. Both sides played some decent football. Although it's no surprise when Jota on 17 minutes scores a peach of a goal from the left-hand side, turns Yedlin inside out and puts it past Drabavka. But we keep plugging away. And again, it's Perez who outwits the Wolves' defence and equalises 1-1. And it's great. Everybody thinks, well, another dose of that in the second half, and we might actually get something out of it. So we go in 1-1, and second half starts off, but plenty of play, but nothing to threaten the goal. And as time wears on, people are thinking, oh, well, at least we're going to get the point. But bad mistake from a corner by Drabavka, who's very weak hands from the corner, and he lets it go over his head and onto the head of Wolves defender Doherty, who gleefully heads it into the top corner on 94 minutes. So there's no way we're going to come back from that. In fact, by the time the whistle had gone, there was hardly time to kick off. Just before all of that happened, the game had got a bit spicy, and Bennett, Cody, Doherty, Costa, and Jota from Wolves were all booked. And Key and Clark were booked. And then on 60 minutes, Andre Yedlin, just wiped Jota out, just took him out of the game, and of course got a red card for it, for a professional foul. And not the right referee to do that sort of thing against, because it was Mike Dean just before he retired. And he couldn't have expected anything less than a red card. And that's a 2-1 loss, which is again starting to make people get a bit shaky about our league position, because we're starting to get bump along the bottom three again. So we're away to Huddersfield Town this time. I mean, the Huddersfield were in the Premiership then is amazing, but never mind, they were. We go with an unchanged team, but Huddersfield has Lossi, Jorgensen, Schindler, Congolo, Hajabad, Baku, Hogg, Billing, Lowe, Pritchard, and Deporte. And they're playing good football, but so are we. And every time Rondon gets the ball, he scatters their defence. They don't seem to be able to hold Rondon, and he's getting the stage of being nearly unplayable. But unfortunately, he's not getting a break in front of goal, so we're struggling to stamp our authority on the game. going 0-0 at half time. Second half's the same, with Atsu running them ragged on the right, and Rondon and Perez running them ragged up the middle. It seems inevitable that we'll end up scoring a goal, and on 55 minutes, that's exactly what happens. Some good interplay between Perez, Atsu, and Rondon finishes it off on 55 minutes with a goal, which gives us the match. And again, sighs of relief: A, that we got an away win, and B, that those points would take us nicely away from the bottom of the league. And the report at the bottom is worth reading again. Referee Anthony Taylor, a rare departure from Manchester for the much maligned Whistler. Oh dear. Not that the reporter's got a bit of a thing about Anthony Taylor, but quite looks like he had. Yeah. The next game is a home game against Fulham. And Fulham are playing well, but not getting any points. They're bumping along the bottom. And again, 52,000 at St James's Park for Fulham, despite the run of results that we've had. Unchanged team for us. Fulham, Rico, Audi, Mawson, Ream, Christie, Chambers, Suri, Bryan, Kearney, Mitrovic, and Sherl. And a good football match. Two teams trying to play football, but again, nobody threatening the goal. It really is. It's almost as though there's a sheet over the front of the goal stopping the ball going in, but there might as well have been, because nobody just gets anywhere near a shot at the goal to make either Rico or Dubravka have to make a save, never mind anything else. So it's a 0-0 draw, and that's how it stays throughout the match. But it's a pretty miserable 0-0, I've got to say. I do remember it, and I can't even say that I can even remember a decent shot on goal, despite all those players being on the pitch. Not even Mitrovic against us. And the worry for Geordies is when ex-Geordie comes back and plays, that the turn were over. Well, there was no danger of Mitrovic turn were over that day. So 0-0 it was, but at least it's a point. And the Martin Atkinson, the referee, again a well-known name. And the fixture list again isn't kind to us. We got a home game, and then bang, Liverpool is the next game away from home. And well, just have to go for it, I think, at the end of the day. Everybody hopes they will. And we send an unchanged team. And Liverpool: Alisson, Alexander-Arnold, Lovren, Van Dijk, Robertson, Wijnaldum, Henderson, Shaqiri, Firmino, Mane, and Salah. Some incredible names there. And of course, they inclined to run ragged at Anfield, and they were giving us a fairly tough time. And lo and behold, 11 minutes, Lovren scores for them. Beautiful goal. But we're holding them back, so 1-0 at half time is not bad. And everybody's thinking, well, we see him again second half. Who knows, we might get something out of it. But second half, Liverpool just turned it on. And unfortunately, a penalty, a gift by very, very bad challenge by Lascelles on Salah. And they get the penalty, which on 47, and that gives them 2. And then after that, they just run ragged. Shaqiri on the left scores, and then Fabinho scores on 85 to make it 4. And frankly, it could have been more than that, but they did give it a go, and for a while it looked like it was working. But once the second goal went in, that was the end of that. referee Graham Scott this time. So a bad loss, but at Liverpool, well, we weren't. I don't think anybody was too surprised that that's what happened. Next game is away game to Watford, and Watford are beatable. The question is whether or not we'll have a go. And unchanged team for us. Watford has Foster, Jamat, who used to be ours, of course, Mariappa, Cathcart, Quina, Massimi, Kapore, Hughes, Perrier, Delifu, Success. And Hughes, of course, still playing for Crystal Palace. We did fleetingly when he played for Derby think about bringing him to Newcastle, I remember, but he went other pastures, new to Watford and then on to Crystal Palace. Good game, and we're right in it. And on 29 minutes, nobody's surprised when Rondon, who's been given their defence quite a difficult time, scores to make it 1-0 to Newcastle. And we go in at half time at 1-0. And everybody thinks, well, 3 points here, that would be great. It really would lift us up the league. And we're doing really, really well. And unfortunately, as we're getting towards the last 10 minutes, some really, really slack play by Yedlin. That's in Decore, and he makes it 1-1, much to the annoyance of the visiting fans, because it was our game that we never looked like losing it, but we end up with a draw when it should have been ours. But it's a point away from home, which is something. Roger East, the referee in that one. So we're now Manchester United at home. Yes, we're at home, but this is always going to be a tough game. They're one of the sides being tipped as champions, and we give them that respect, but not too much respect. And the first half, it's even Steven. We really do have a go at them, and to be honest, had Diarmi had his shooting boots on, from corners, he had a couple of chances to put in the lead, but didn't happen. So 0-0 at half time. Second half, Manchester United just came out like a different team, with Rashford and Pogba and Matic really giving us a hard time. And it's no surprise to anyone on 64 minutes when Lukaku, their big centre forward, makes it 1-0. And on 80 minutes, Rashford just outruns our defence and makes it 2-0. Sad for the team because they played very well and did give it a go. The Manchester team, De Gea, Valencia, Lindelof, Jones, Shaw, Herrera, Matic, Mata, Pogba, Martial, and Rashford. A tremendous side at that time. And our team unchanged and played quite well, but just not well enough to hold Manchester. So it's a defeat, but not a heavy defeat. The Andre Mariner, again, the referee, he must know his way to St James's Park very well, because that's the third time in about 5 weeks he's been at St James's Park. We now come to the FA Cup third round, and we're at home to Blackburn Rovers. And well, the FA Cup always stirs things on Tyneside, and everybody's hoping we get a cup run out of it. There's no question about that. Rafa changes the team though. Woodman, Sherry, Shah, Lejeune, Maniquino, Murphy, Hayden, Longstaff, Kennedy, Ritchie, and Joselu. Nearly 6-7 changes in the team. And Blackburn, Rhea, Bennett, Lenihan, Mulgrew, Bell, Travis, Evans, Armstrong, Dack, Conway, and Graham. Graham, centre forward, who many years before this had played for our neighbours down the road. A decent game, but people thinking it was going to be one-way traffic and easy were soon shocked that it wasn't going to be like that, that Blackburn were given as good as they got. And indeed, as the second half went on, they took the game by the scruff of the neck, and their dangerous forward, Dak, scored to make it 1-0. And it looked like we were on our way out of the cup when right on 84 minutes, their dangerous, their rugged midfielder, Mulgrew, upended Kennedy on a mazy dribble, gave us a pen, and Matt Ritchie made it 1-1 and took us to a replay. And at least kept us in the cup. Next game is away to Chelsea. Incidentally, the Blackburn Rovers for the FA Cup, only 37,000 in that game. And I think that was to do with the fact that Rafa didn't pick a strong team, but I could be wrong. I may be guessing. But it was on the cards that he was going to change things up. Anyway, we go to Chelsea. We're back to full side. Dubravka, Yedlin, Lascelles, Lejeune, Clark, Ritchie, Hayden, Longstaff, Atsu, Perez, and Rondon. Chelsea, Automata, Aplicata, Rudiger, Luiz, Alonso, Carney, Jorginho, Kovacic, Pedro, Hazard, and Willian in the Chelsea side, and a tidy football side at the time, and slowly but surely climbing the league. We first half giving as good as we got. We give a silly goal away on 10 minutes. Pedro sneaks in at the near post from a free kick when everybody else is watching the ball, and people biting their nails that we may be in for a bit of a 1,000 here, but we're not. It was not too long that a corner, Clark goes up for the corner and heads a beautiful goal to equalise. So we go in 1-1 at half time. After the second half starts, we're given as good as we get until on 57 minutes, Willian turns Yedlin inside out and slots the ball under Dubravka to make it 2-1. We then actually have a go at Chelsea and make Chelsea backpedal. But unfortunately, we couldn't get an equaliser, and ends 2-1 to Chelsea. But not a bad result on where current things were. Next game is the return game at home. At Blackburn for the FA Cup, the replay. And Rafa still plays around with the team. Woodman, Sterry, Clark, Fernandez, Maniquino, Shaw, Longstaff, Roberts, Murphy, Ritchie, and Joselu. And Blackburn and changed from the first team with they bring in Armstrong, who they got from us, into the team instead of Grayson, and it's a good game, end-to-end stuff. Within a minute, Longstaff puts it in the lead, and 22 minutes, the young man Roberts makes it 2-0. So we think we're coasting, and then lo and behold, right on half time, Lenihan, their dangerous winger, excuse me, with right at the last kick of the first half, makes it 2-2, and that's how it stays. Second half's end to end, but no way is anybody going to score any goals, and it ends up 2-2, so we have to go into extra time. And then in extra time, Newcastle take command. Joselu at 105 minutes scores, and Perez on 107 makes it 4-2, and there's no way we're going to lose that one. And so we come home with a 4-2 win in the third round of the FA Cup at Blackburn. We then have Cardiff City at home. Cardiff City are not far off bottom of the league. We really should be putting them to the sword. And they come to St James's, and again, 50,000 for Cardiff City at St James's, which I think is incredible. We go back to our normal side. Dravavka, Yedlin, Shaw, Lascelles, Lejeune, Ritchie, Hayden, Longstaff, Atsu, Perez and Rondon, and Cardiff, Etheridge, Pittia, Bennett, Manga, Bamba, Mendes Ling, Rails, Casamara, Hoylett, Nasu, and Patterson. Good football game. Quite clear this is going to be Newcastle's, because within the first 10 minutes they should have been 2 up. 24 minutes, there's a corner. Up comes Shaw from the back, and bang, we're 1-0 in the lead. Second half, we go at them again. Only looks keeping that goal empty. We hit the bar, hit the post. Goalkeepers making all sorts of saves. We're on 63 minutes. The ball's loose in midfield, and Shaw fastens onto it, charges forward, and at the edge of the box, let loose one of these blockbusters to make it 2-0. And the game's ours by then. Cardiff are on their knees. And 90 minutes just before the final whistle, Azio Perez drifts through their defence and makes it 3-0. So a nice 3-0 win forward to lift off even higher up the league than we had been. But a good victory nonetheless. But against, I've got to admit, a very poor Cardiff side. Referee Stuart Atwell in that one. We then have next round of the FA Cup is fourth round is a home game against Watford, and again only 34,000 for the cup tie, and I still think that's to do with the fact that people knew that Rafa was going to mess about with the team, and mess about he did. Woodman in goal, Manaquino, Fernandez, Lascelles, Clark, Ritchie, Murphy, Hayden, Longstaff, Kennedy, and Joselu. Didn't mess about with as much as he had in the previous round, but mess about with he did. Watford come with Gomez, they just bought from Spurs, Messina, Bards, Cathcart, Jalmat, Quina, Wilmot, Chalabar, Success, Gray, and Hughes. And end to end the first half, but nobody looks like it's going to score. Similar play in the second half, then awful mistake by Manaquino, lets in Gray, who'll make it 1-0 to Watford. And then as we push forward, trying to get an equaliser, of course, right at the death, Success outwits the defence and makes it 2-0. So that's the dreams of FA Cup run well and truly jiggered by Watford. And we then have to face the fixture list being unkind to us again in some ways, but we end up having to face Manchester City, who are riding high at the top of the league, and the crowd back up to 52,000 for this league game. And as I said, Manchester City now sitting right at the top of the league, hosting everything that they want to do. Good game, and full team for Manchester City: Edison, Danilo, Laporte, Stones, Walker, Silva, Fernandinho, De Bruyne, Sane, Aguero and Sterling. And we've got a full side out. Dubravka, Yedlin, Shaw, Lascelles, Lejeune, Ritchie, Perez, Hayden, Longstaff, Atsu, and Rondon. And if we had any doubt it was going to be difficult, well, first minute, excuse me, Aguero does one of his mazy dribbles from the kickoff. In 1 minute, we're a goal down. And you're going to hear the murmurs in the crowd wondering, oh God, what they're going to do to her now. But it stays like that till half time because Newcastle dig their heels in and give as good as they've got. Second half's the same. We keep having a go at them. And then on 66 minutes, Rondon shows why he was such a dangerous player. Done very little in the game, but suddenly finds himself on the edge of the box alone with the ball at his feet. And without a flick of the wrist, bang, it's in the top corner before Ederson can move in the Manchester goal. So we're back to 1-1, and people think, well, is it possible that we could get something out of this? Well, the important thing is we have a go, and Rondon and Perez, occasionally Atsu, were giving Manchester City something to think about. And then, right from a corner, it looks like Rondon's going to score again when Stones and Walker both tackle Rondon, and of course the inevitable sandwich results in a penalty. And up steps Matt Ritchie, who's usually faithful penalty taker, and bang, we're 2-1, and it looks like we might actually get something out of this game. And we hang on by our fingernails some of the time, but at least having a go showed that Manchester City weren't unbeatable. And in fact, we win 2-1, which is something of a surprise to football generally, but a great joy in the Gallowgate and the rest of St James's Park. The next game is away at Tottenham. It's going to be a tough game. Tottenham are another one of the teams that's been tipped to win things. We go with the same team, unchanged team. Tottenham, strong team. Some names we recognise: Loris, Trippier, Alderweireld, Sanchez, Vertonghen, Winks, Sissoko, Eriksson, Lamela, Lucas, and Son. And we got us full side out, and for once we give it a go. And first half's even Steven. We get as much chance as goals as they do, and we end up with a 0-0 at half time, which is very satisfying. And everybody thinks that well, we might get something out of this, and sure enough, second half's the same end-to-end stuff. And then, as occasionally happens, right at the death, a really silly mistake by Lejeune, and let Son in, and of course he doesn't make a mistake. And on 83 minutes, it becomes Spurs 1, Newcastle 0. However, we did try to get back into the game, and that was very, very appreciated by the away fans. But we lose 1-0, and Andre Mariner, referee again. But a 1-0 loss, but a good game, and we played really well. Next game is another away game to Wolves, and we go to Molineux. They're not doing well. They'll be lowest in the league, so we should at least have a chance of doing something. And we're giving them a good game, more than a good game. Again, Rondon and Perez are upsetting their defence, and so it's no surprise. 0-0 at half time. Second half, we really go for them, and it's no surprise when on 56 minutes of through ball, a ball laid back by Rondon to Hayden's path, and he blasts it into the top roof of the net to make it 1-0 to us. And everybody's getting ready to celebrate an away victory, but unfortunately, 95 minutes, 5 minutes extra time. Their dangerous forward, Bowley, gets hold of the ball and cuts inside Yedlin and underneath Dubravka to make it 1-1 at the death. There wasn't even time to kick off again after that ball went in. And then we have a friendly against CSK Moscow. It was, I think it's a filler in for the cup that we're not in now. And but it was an interesting game. And what is curious is that we travel away to a game like that. Travel away to a game like that in the middle of the season. However, it's experience, I suppose, and Rafa must have had a reason for doing it, other than keeping the team fit. A decent game. 16 minutes, Rondon scores a beautiful goal, and then Hernandez for Moscow scores an equaliser just before half time, and it's 1-1 in what was quite a decent game. The attendance, was only 2,000, and it was only 2,000 because the SKA Moscow had crowd trouble, and so they were banned from having any supporters at all. So the 2,000 that were in were in illegally anyway. So it must have been a peculiar atmosphere without any real fans in. And so we get rid of CSK Moscow, and then we're home to Huddersfield Town. The Huddersfield are playing pretty badly. We shouldn't have any trouble with them, and we don't. Unchanged team, and really give them 1,000 first half, but we can't put the ball in the net. But then straight after half time, Rondon, 46 minutes, bang, it's 1-0. And on 52 minutes, Azio Perez makes it 2-0. And Huddersfield just don't have an answer. And it was amazing that it only stayed 2-0. They got a bit spicy. They had 4 booked, we had 2 booked. And then at the end of just before the end of the game, their defender Smith cleaned out Perez and got a red card. And the referee was Kevin Friend. But the important thing for us is we're now climbing well away from the bottom and even the bottom 3. Next game is a home game against Burnley, and again a team we should be beaten. And it's almost as though we had just stayed on the pitch after Huddersfield, because the team took off where they left off against Huddersfield, outplaying Burnley. Shaw scores a blinder from the edge of the penalty, as he likely can do, to make it 1-0. Then Longstaff scores a beautiful goal after some nice interplay with Rondon to make it 2-0. And that's how it stays at half time. Second half, Burnley just packed the defence. They don't want the hiding. So they pack their defence and do a little bit of rough stuff, so that me and Hendrick and Crouch all get booked for nasty fouls. But we hang on to the 2-0. Well, don't hang on. We get 2-0 easily and get another nice victory, taking us higher up the league again. So then we're off to West Ham United at the Bowling Ground. 49,000 for Burnley at St James's, by the way. And West Ham still playing well. They're not at the top of the league, but they're well above us and playing very decent football. So we know this is going to be easy. Got a full side. We so have West Ham, Fabianski, Fredericks, Digo, Ottomanga, Cresswell, Noble, Rice, Snodgrass, Linney, Anderson, and Charieto. And good game, good football, but 7 minutes, Rice sneaks in a corner and gives them 1-0 lead. And then on 42 minutes, they get a penalty after a bad tackle by Manaquino, and Noble makes it 2-0 at half time. And that's how it stayed till the second half, because both teams dug in a little bit, and it got a bit naughty as well. I mean, we had Shaw, Longstaff, Hayden, and Dubravka all booked. Dubravka for pushing somebody out the way who was trying to block him in a corner, and they had Noble, Makasu, and Diop all booked as well. So a bit of spiciness at the end, but nonetheless, 2-0 win to West Ham, and not a bad defeat for us, but the one that wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. We then get West Ham out the way. We're at home to Everton, and Everton haven't been they're slightly above us, but they're not being talked about as a team that's going to win anything. And it's a tidy game. We've got a full side out. They have Pickford, Digny, Zuma, Keane, Kenny, Gouré, Gomez, Bernard, Sigerson, Richarlison, and Calvert-Lewin. All names, some of those names we know in modern even now. And Everton come out like it's 100 miles an hour. Actually, run us ragged. The only way to describe it. Calvert-Lewin on 18 minutes, Richarlison on 32 minutes, and they're 2-0 in the lead and coasting it. Absolutely coasting it. Come out after half time. Well, I don't know what Rafa said to them at half time or what he put in their tea, but it was like we'd changed the team. The Newcastle just switched up another gear and started to do to Everton what they'd done to us in the first half. And it wasn't no surprise when on 65 minutes, Rondon scored. Even less surprise when on 81 minutes, Perez scored an equaliser. And then lo and behold, 85 minutes, just towards the end of the match, again, Perez just sneaked through the Everton defence and made it 3-2. Something of a comeback, as good a comeback as we see. And Lee Mason, the referee, and it's interesting that we win 3-2 this one, and Lee Mason's the referee. Well, when we played them at Goodison Park, Lee Mason was the referee there as well. But this one ended more happier than the first one did. 3-2 win. And we're now slowly but climbing up the league, which is good stuff. We can feel comfortable now, not looking over our shoulder at who's charging up behind us. We then have a away game at Bournemouth. Never an easy place to go for Newcastle. We always seem to have tough games at Bournemouth. And Boric, Klein, Megram, Aki, Daniels, Lema, Ibi, Fraser, Brooks, Wilson, and King in the Bournemouth side. And they were playing some good football and dangerous in certain in attack, because Wilson and King were a dangerous pair. In fact, I sometimes wonder if we missed a chance when we bought Wilson. We should have bought King as well, but that may be my jaundiced view of the world. But anyway, it's we got a full side out. We're given as good as we got, and first half's even Steven, but then just before the half-time whistle goes, Rondon fastens onto a loose ball and in his own inimitable way lashes it past their goalkeeper to give us a 1-0 lead at half-time. Second half, Bournemouth take over, and on 48 minutes, they get a penalty due to a very slack tackle by Dummett on Wilson, and King scores from the penalty spot. So it's 1-1. And then 81 minutes, King outwits our defence to make it 2-1 to Bournemouth. And it looks like we're going home with absolutely nothing. but then almost miraculous goal. There's a long ball, a cross field ball from Lejeune. It finds Ritchie on the edge of the box on his own, and without stopping or killing the ball, Matt Ritchie unleashes a volley that Alan Shearer would have been proud of, and it nearly took the goal off the net off the goal. And that was 94 minutes, and suddenly we're 2-2, and the Geordies go home happy. That was probably one of Matt Ritchie's best goals for Newcastle United, and he scored a few good goals, but 2-2, and we're climbing up the right part of the league again to get safety. We're not looking over our shoulder for safety. We are safe, and starting to look at the top end of the league instead of the bottom end. Then off to Highbury. It's always a difficult fixture. They're playing particularly well and are being tipped to win things. So we go and got our full side out, and so have they. They've just changed their goalkeeper. Leno's just been brought from Germany. Otherwise, the team's as it was in the first game. Well, they've got a young kid called Iwobi comes in, who's been talked about as the future star. He's still playing actually, and playing for Fulham, I think it is. And it's a good game. We're giving them as good as we'll get, and we're having to hit Ramsey on one of his better days, unfortunately. And on 30 minutes, he slots in a beautiful goal from the edge of the box, giving Dubravka no chance at all. So we go in at half time 1-0 down. After half time, we have a go at them and make them backpedal a little bit, but we just can't hit the net. And then on 83 minutes, Lacazette outwits the defence and makes it 2-0. And that kind of knocks the stuffing out of us for the rest of the game. So a 2-0 loss at Arsenal isn't the end of the world, but at least we give it a go. We tried. We didn't surrender. So our next game is at home to Crystal Palace, and 52,000 for Palace at St James's. A game we should win. Everybody's expecting we should win. Well, Newcastle being Newcastle. Full side out. Palace side, Guaita, Wan-Bissaka, Kelly, Tompkins, Van Aanholt, Townsend, MacArthur, Mihailovic, Schlupp, Butasi, and Zaha. And tidy side, played good football, but we really should be beating them. But we tried as we might, we couldn't put the ball in the back of the net first half, and same second half, and then really careless challenge by Hayden on 81 minutes, and Mihailovic scores the penalty for Palace, and they go away 1-0 winners, which was a game that we really should have won. But how many times we say that in a season for Newcastle? But 1-0 defeat, which is very disappointing, but not the end of the world. Stuart Atwill is the referee this time. Next game is the away game at Leicester City. Leicester City, we owe them one. They came to Newcastle in the first game and turned us over 3-0, which was a bit of a downer, a bit of a disappointment. While we go to King Power Stadium, and we're full side. We've got our full team out, and they have Schmeichel, Pereira, Morgan, Maguire, Chilwell, Tielemans, Niddy, Gray, Maddison, Barnes, and Vardy. And that Barnes is our Barnes, I think. There's no doubt about that. And it's a good game. and we're given as good as we get. So it's no surprise on 30 minutes, 32 minutes when Azio Perez glides through the defence, outwits Maguire and Morgan, and scores, sliding the ball under Schmeichel to make it 1-0 to Newcastle. That's how it stays at half time. Second half, end-to-end stuff. Leicester come back at us to see if they can get back into the game. But they don't. And we substitute Almiron for Atsu. And his pace is troubling the big defenders at the back of Leicester's defence. So we get our victory, 1-0 victory away from home. And well deserved and well played, really. Chris Kavanagh's the referee, and fourth time in the season the refereed Newcastle. Perhaps we should adopt them as a mascot because we won all four. Next game is the home game against Southampton. Now Southampton are really struggling, and again we should win. We full side. Southampton have Gunn, Stevens, Ushida, Badanek, Ward-Prowse, Romanu, Hodgberg, Bertrand, Sims, Redmond, and Ings. And we're at them straight away. This is a game from the off. You could see we wanted to win. And the star of the game is Perez. Southampton defence are frightened of Rondon. That's clear. But every time Perez gets the ball, things are happening. And Almiron, because of his pace, who's stayed in the side from Leicester, is causing them trouble as well. Leaving Perez with a little bit more freedom. On 27 minutes, no surprise when he scores the first goal. And on 31 minutes, he repeats the dose from the same side to 2-0 at half time. And second half, we continue in the same vein, except that we get a bit careless at the back, and from a corner, some very poor marking at the back, and Lamina scores one to give Southampton some hope. But within minutes, Perez completes his hat-trick. A beautiful solo goal from the middle of the penalty area, and just glides it passes it almost into the bottom corner to make it 3-1 to Newcastle. And a good victory, but not just a good victory, a good game. We played really well in this game. And really, really good game. And the points taking us up to the middle of the league now, not even looking over our shoulder anymore. And they're great. Referee Anthony Taylor again, so he's become something of a lucky charm as well. And the next game is the away game to Brighton, and they're not great shakes. We should think about getting something out of this game. We've got a full side out with and Brighton have Ryan, Bruno, Duffy, Dunk, Bernardo, Gross, Stevens, KL, Isiquero, Adoni, and Murray. Tidy football inside. It's a good footballing game. First half, end-to-end stuff. And of course, Perez, who's on fire at the moment on 18 minutes, gives us the lead. So we go in 1-0 at half time. Looks like we might get an away win, but 75 minutes, the German midfielder Gross scores a peach of a goal from the edge of the box. Beautiful drive, which Drubava can't even get near to. And we end up 1-1. And it's a fair result. Both teams did their best, and 1-1 was not bad for us either. Keeps us in the middle of the league. And the report, it's worth reading the reporter's comments. Mike Dean from the Wirral is the referee. Last seen in another draw at Bournemouth a month ago. Oh dear. And so we come home to after that to a game against Liverpool. We know it's going to be difficult, and with a full house, absolutely full. I mean, 52,206. I think that's a handful of people from the doors being closed. I think that's how full that is. And why not against Liverpool, who are one of the teams challenging for the league? We have our full side out. Liverpool have Alisson, Alexander-Arnold, Lovren, Van Dijk, Robertson, Henderson, Fabinho, Wijnaldum, Salah, Sturridge, and Mane. And from the off, Liverpool are at it. And it's no surprise. 3 corners in the space of about 2 minutes, and Van Dijk heads the ball in to make it 1-0 to them. 20 minutes, and Atsu bamboozles the Liverpool defence to make it 1-1. Then 10 minutes later, on the half hour, Mo Salah, beautiful solo goal from the left-hand side, and makes it 2-1 to them for half-time. And we come out the second half, and what pleased me at this game was we didn't try and lie back or just defend. We actually give Liverpool a game, and it was a really entertaining game. So it was no surprise and great delight when Rondon, who'd been given Van Dijk a hell of a tussle at the back for Liverpool, fastened onto a nice ball, outwitted Van Dijk, and blasted the ball past Alisson to make it 2-2. And it looked like we might get a point out of this, having played so well. But then, lo and behold, on 87 minutes, just before the end, their substitute, Origi, comes on for Salah. And Nelly's first touch, he makes it 3-2 to Liverpool. So we lose 3-2, but no disgrace. We actually give them a game, had a go at them, and almost got something out of it. And the commentary is Andre Manara from the West Midlands. 5th time we've had the pleasure of his company for a game. Keeps account of how many times the referees come. And the last game of the season is away game to Fulham, and Fulham aren't doing very well. In fact, they're not going to be lucky to survive. They've got Rico, Christie, Mawson, Lamarchand, Brian, Chambers, Agusi, Atel, Kearney, Sigerson, and Mitrovic. And from the off, we don't even let them in the game. 9 minutes, Shelby scores with a beautiful goal. Perez on 11, an equally good goal. Shaw on 61 minutes, one of his typical blasters from the edge of the penalty area, right at the death, the very last kick of the ball. Rondon scores a beautiful individual goal to make it 4-0, to end our season on a very, very high note, considering what we'd been through. And just to wrap up the story of the season, we ended up 13th, but right about that middle of the league where we are. There were 6 teams from Everton in 8th and us in 13th. 4 points covered all those teams. So some of those draws we got, if we'd even got one of them as a win, we would have been much higher than 13th. But 13th wasn't bad. We suffered for a long while without goals, 42 goals scored in the season and only 48 against. But when you look at the teams around with, that's a lot better defensively, but much worse offensively. The winners of the league, well, Manchester City. Manchester City, 98 points. Liverpool second with 97 points. Chelsea third on 72 points. I mean, the gap between second and third, 20 odd points. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So things haven't changed much, but that wasn't a bad season considering what our owner allowed Rafa to put into the team. And again, he made best use of what he had, because there were some players who actually outperformed expectations. And it was no surprise to me that Azio Perez became a favourite in Spain and still is, and actually plays for Spain. And that's the ladies' team that was starting to do good things that season, and we're starting to get encouragement from Rafa and his staff as well. But they're in a different class now, of course. But it's good to see that. So not a bad season, all in all. Just the cups were a washout, sadly.
Yeah.
And I suppose Rafa has to take his share of the blame because he fielded weakened sides, and no question about that. But I suppose the priority was the Premiership, and that was always Ashley's priority, wasn't it? To stay in the Premiership. But a confident and competent season, I think, and allowed some players to grow a little bit. Interestingly, Isaac Hayden's been a subject of a lot of conversation in the last few months because of his position at the club and his transfer. Believe it or not, at that time, this particular season, he played so well in that season. Rafa actually recommended him to be picked for England.
Wow.
How things change, it's just incredible, isn't it? Your stars up or your stars down, and there's no in between. So anyway, not a bad season.
2018, 2019 wrapped by George. On to the next one, George. Looking forward to that. Thanks, as always, for your time and dedication to getting the facts and figures right. And look forward to sharing a bit on screen with you the next time.
Always my pleasure, Steve. And thanks, everybody, for watching. It is important. Do enjoy seeing you all when we get the chance to. And please come and say hello when you can.
Take care, George. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Steve.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. Find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. A big thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. 2 crew, driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. All excursions included. Find them at their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email them at beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. A big thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. You can find them at their website, media-arts.co.uk. If you want to listen to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify, and your other podcast providers. If you want to help support the channel, hit the thumb up, which is the like button. Click share to share to your other social medias. Click join to join the channel. And click the subscribe button. We've also got links in our description for buy us a coffee and to be a Patreon member. Some events coming up. An afternoon with Sir Les Ferdinand, 6th of April, 12 till 4. Tickets available from ticketmaster.co.uk. No Covers takes place at the Cluny, Lilac Lane, Ryder and the Chris Norris Band. Tickets from theclooney.com or by telephoning 0191 230 4474. An evening with Steve Howie and Steve Watson, hosted by Joe Allen, takes place at the Tyneside Irish Centre on the 27th of June. Tickets for that are from newcastlelegends.com. An evening with Peter Beardsley and Chris Waddle takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House on the 23rd of January 2026. Box office 0844 246 1000 or website tynetheatreandoperahouse.tv. An evening with Bad Manners takes place on Friday the 30th of January 2026 and tickets available from ticketmaster.co.uk. And we have copies of The Entertainers 1992 to 1997, Kevin Keegan's Legacy, available from newcastlelegends.com.